So what's good, TMG fam? Listen, man, rare is real, bro. And I ain't talking about them rare behind steaks some of y'all be cooking, bro. I be seeing some of them steaks be still bleeding all over the plate. Just look like you just was in a murder scene. You know what I mean? Medium, go medium, bro. It's the, like, I know we're never gonna agree on that. But anyway, that has nothing to do with that. Rare is real, bro. So when you out in the woods camping and fishing and doing different things, man, and you come across one of these hybrid animals, you know what I mean? I don't want you to be surprised. I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm just thinking it could be, possibly. You know what I'm saying? Possibly. So this video we checking out, bro, is 20 hybrid animals created by scientists you won't believe exist. I don't know. Only one way to find out. So we're going to dive into it. So if you're new to the channel, man, hit that subscribe button. Join the family. Let's check this out.
Man has begun to play God. Once upon a time, it was only our mighty creator who could design animals. But these days, scientific madmen are getting in on it by smashing together very different animals to create crazy new mashups. Just like a DJ remixing a song, but with genetics. These are 20 hybrid animals created by scientists you won't believe exist.
This should feel like Jurassic Park so much to me.
Number 20. The Human Pig Chimera. We've got to be careful about this one because I don't want you going and getting the wrong idea here. This isn't about a pig and human offspring, but rather about a process that showed that humans and pig cells could work together and grows into something special. Now, if you're confused, I'll explain without trying to gross you out too much. You see, in the field of medicine, one of the things that doctors need plenty of, but don't have enough to go around, are human organs.
Organs that are composed mainly of blood cells.
There are people all over the world who need organ transplants, and yet sadly there aren't enough to give, and thus people end up dying. So, scientists have been working on ways to try and circumvent that as scientifically as possible. Their theory is that if they could introduce human cells into an animal host, they could grow organs through that animal and then give them to humans. Well, they found out that pigs honestly could do that, as disgusting as it sounds. And to be clear, they haven't actually been able to grow full organs, but they were able to introduce human cells into pigs, and those cells not only worked, but they actually grew. So, if some big changes are made, and organs are able to be reproduced in pigs, this could potentially save a whole lot of lives.
Hey, I'm down for anything that's gonna help people. I'm down for that. You know what I mean? Even if you gotta walk around every now and then, you just go. You know what I'm saying? You just do that every now and again. You make that noise. Hey, it would be worth it to me.
That's worth being grossed out a little bit, right? Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now it's time for the sweet topic. This truly horrifying image was shared online by a scientist who claims it's genuine and says that he took the photo himself. If his story can be trusted, he's apparently crossed a mouse and a snake to create an all-new creature. He's been asked a bunch of questions, but has gone quiet ever since, with people struggling to get in contact with him. This is the only photo that he's known to have uploaded, leading to lots of debate and discussion. What do you think? As always, comment.
Well, snakes eat mice. So what did you just decide to now? You know what I mean? I learned that snakes will have a tendency to eat themselves. So now if it thinks it's a mouse, like, I'm so confused here. Why?
Down below using the hashtag sweet topic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed you on the screen. Number 19. The Human Z. And if you thought that was a case of weird science, you don't know the half of it. Because you see, you may think that the idea of fusing human beings and other animals together was only a recent kind of thing because of the advancements of technology. However, it's not even close in fact. People, like mad scientists, have had this idea for decades, and one person even claimed that a scientist in the 1920s was able to make the first ever humanzee by giving human DNA to a female monkey and reproducing a spawn. Now it's time to be grossed out. What's more, the person who made this claim about the century-old research project said that the spawn was indeed a live birth. Most hybrid animals are unnatural and die in stillbirth events, which would obviously make this a revolutionary move if it were true. But why do we believe that it's not true? Well, just think about this in non-gross terms. First, it would be a radical thing in all the ways that matter. Second, if the scientist was able to make it work, why didn't they get the credit for it? Or just as importantly, why didn't they do it again? Not to mention that the person was from Florida, and we all know how their minds work. So that's why you don't go and believe everything that you read. Number 18. Blood Parrot Chiclet Fish. Now, I've already talked about some interesting fusions, but how about one that involves fish? At first, it wouldn't be seen as that bad, but it depends on what's made out of it. In this case, I'm talking about the blood parrot chiclet fish. This creature is produced by crossing the Midas chiclet and the red-headed chiclet, and the blood parrot chiclet's genetic mixture has left the fish with a combination of physical traits that compromise the fish's ability to thrive. Not exactly what you were expecting, was it? For example, the blood parrot has a very tiny mouth, which wouldn't be bad in some cases, but for this fish, it's so small that it can't even eat what it wants in order to survive. And that's not good.
See, that's the foul part of it to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we still got to think of these animals and stuff like that, bro. Like, that's just foul.
There are even some activists out there who are trying to get this fish boycotted in the sense that it won't be bred anymore. And more importantly, absolutely not sold at pet shops. But the problem, well, while it may be a fish that can be hard to survive on its own, it's a looker in terms of being a unique fish to behold. What's more, it has a good habit of being a good co-inhabitant of an ecosystem of fish, and so people want to keep it around. Either way you look, the blood parrot chiclet fish are proof that if you get into genetic tinkering, it can sometimes lead to very disastrous effects. Number 17. Killer bees. Now, if you need more proof that there are serious dangers in making fused animals, look no further than that of the infamous Africanized bees, aka the killer bees, because these were made to do an honorable thing, but then things went wrong and now they're one of the biggest menaces in the Western Hemisphere. But how could things go so wrong? Well, the killer bees were a fusion of certain subspecies of bees. The intention of doing this was honey production. Specifically, the bees would be sent to places like Brazil to help with making more honey for them.
So,
except they didn't account for the fact that the bees wouldn't react well to the heat of Brazil, in case you didn't know it's really hot there, and thus would not actually make the honey. Then a couple of swarms of bees escaped and made their way from South America to Central America, and then to North America, where their traits were experienced in the worst of ways. These bees don't really like to be bothered, ever, and when any of them feel threatened, they'll swarm and sting people in order to get them away from them and the hive and so on. This results in many things, which includes death. And these truly are killer bees, and there's stories to prove it. Just remember though,
we didn't even ask for this. Like, they gotta learn to leave well enough alone, man. You know what I mean? Figure some other way. Leave stuff like this alone. I ain't look at all these people and things you put in jeopardy, bro. Chill.
Wasn't a natural thing. Scientists are the ones to blame. Number 16. Belgian Blue. The Belgian Blue is a very special kind of cattle that was made via...
Yo, my... Yo, this thing just looked like it just strolled right out the gym. Like, it's got muscles in places that probably shouldn't have muscles, bro. What is this?
Some very selective hybrid breeding. You see, some very special bulls would be exported from the UK to Belgium during the 19th century, and when that occurred, they began to be put with the rest of the cattle population in order to incite some growth and improve the nation's population. Something that was honestly done in many countries, believe
Look like he either coming or going to a bodybuilding competition.
it or not. Eventually, after some fine-tuning, if you will, they got a species that put all the others to shame, and it's known as the Belgian Blue. The reason that this one stands out is because of its girth, or in this case, the muscling. It's so big that it got the term double muscled attached to it because it's just so bulky. And when it comes to cattle, that's honestly what you want. You want a big cattle that has those big muscles because it makes the meat so much better. Extensive research has shown that Belgian Blues possess a gene that suppresses the production of some chemical I can't pronounce, a protein that normally inhibits muscle growth after a certain point, and thus why it has that double muscling characteristic. It may seem wrong that this kind of thing happened, but trust me when I say that compared to some of the other things that ranchers and farmers do to get the best animals, trying out a new breed is honestly the least offensive, mainly because it's kind of natural per se.
Fam, that milk should have no fat anywhere in it whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, none.
Number 15. Spidersilk goats.
Sheesh.
Now, so far I've seen all sorts of crossbreeding, from animals doing it themselves to others trying to breed unique results. But what about another example of a hybrid creation with a clear purpose? This time, I'm not talking about organs in other animals, I'm talking about silk. Are you confused? Well, don't worry, because it'll make sense soon, and it's not as odd as you may believe. If you were to be asked what animal could make something tougher than steel, spiders probably wouldn't be your first choice. But it's true. The silk that they use for their webs can be stronger than steel when woven in the right amounts. The problem is that spiders on their own take a long time to make enough webbing to make this worthwhile, so science decided to speed things up a bit. And to do that, they needed goats. No, don't get the wrong idea here, it's not that. Rather, the scientists went and infused certain DNA into the goats' bellies so that their milk that they produce would have silk within it. Put that in enough goats and get them to make the silk on the regular, and suddenly you have a whole lot of it to use to make tough bandages, body armor, and more. It's all a little bit crazy, but you have to admit it's also a little bit clever. Number 14. Superball python. Sometimes you just have to wonder if people mix certain species of the same animal together just to see what happens, because that's exactly what occurred with the Superball python species. In fact, they're calling it a designer species, believe it or not, because scientists are mixing and matching these pythons in terms of genes, all in order to see what new looks they can get out of the ball pythons. But while some are going to be
Really? That's what we doing it for? For the look? Never mind, you saw all those eggs hatching, right? We're gonna have an infestation of snakes. I don't even know if that's the appropriate word. We're gonna have snakes everywhere. Snakes on a plane. Sorry, that movie just makes me laugh. Like, you're gonna have snakes everywhere. No. Let's not just create them because they look pretty and the colors, because you like the colors and oh my God, they match your outfit. No, that's not what we should be doing, people.
happy with the fashionable snakes, there's a cost to all of it, and I'm not talking monetary. You see, it took years to get a pack of baby ball pythons to be born, and even then they ended up struggling. This is because of the simple fact that though you can mix the various species of animals, it doesn't mean that you should. Sometimes gene splicing just doesn't work out, and the animals die off because they aren't as advanced as they need to be to survive. All of that being said, study of the Superball python does state that it does have certain advantages over its parents, which includes having a wider diet and reproducing at an earlier age. Still, you just have to wonder if these...
Or you mess around and mix some type of python with another, or some type of snake with another snake, and now we got this rare venom that was created by the two breeding, and now we don't have a cure for it, and it's just roaming around reproducing and creating more. Now it's all like, no, stop.
Designer snakes are really a good idea at all. Number 13, zebroids. Now I'm getting back into weird territory of hybrid animals, because the name zebroids just isn't one animal, it's actually a group name for any animal that came from a zebra in part. For example, there's the zorse, which happens if you mix a male zebra and a female horse, because of course you'd name it a zorse, of course. It makes perfect sense. And as you can see, it very much looks like a hybrid animal you would expect, because it looks like the perfect fusion of a zebra and a horse. It has the body type of a horse with the stripes of the zebra, but the coloring of the horse as well. What's more, it's been noted that the zorse is one to have certain resistances that are found in zebras. But why does all of that matter? Well, that means that despite being part horse, it's actually better suited for certain things that would heavily have affected a regular horse. In this case, the fusing actually does some good. But if I'm being honest, it's just weird to look at. It's hard to rationalize that kind of fusing. And though it does make something unique, is it all really worth it? And you'd have to imagine it wasn't easy to get these animals together in the first place, but life just finds a way, right? Number 12, the Liger. Now I'm going to talk about a fusion that absolutely works in the best of ways possible. Of course, the legendary Liger. This is one of the big cats, and as the name suggests, it's what happens when you mix a male lion and a female tiger, though technically the reverse also works. The result of that fusion is a very massive beast that's honestly bigger than both of its parents by a wide margin. And if you don't believe me, well, the average liger is about 12 feet long. They're also really heavy creatures, but that doesn't stop them from running over 30 miles per hour on the ground.
And can you believe anything this big can run 35 miles an hour?
They're truly fierce.
I think you should be telling yourself that, because you're going to be the one that has to run, not me. I'm not getting close to it. You're going to be the one. So I suggest you get on the treadmill, start building your speed up to at least, if it runs, 30, 40, you need to be up to 50, 60, which is hard to do, so I don't know how you're going to do it, but I think you need to tell yourself that.
Predators, no doubt. The catch with it all, though, is that there are only a handful of these ligers in the world, and for reasons that you could probably guess. That's right, these are natural, but not abundant. In fact, they're usually born on accident. That's what they all say, right? Or because humans wanted a liger. So you're not likely to just see them in the wild, but that doesn't mean it's not cool when you do. For example, at one zoo, there's a liger named Hercules, and this particular liger is the biggest of the bunch and holds the world record. So long live the liger. Number 11, Beefalo. This next one's going to be a little bit hard to talk about, because the beefalo, as it is known, is absolutely a creature that's bred with purpose, and that purpose is to be killed for its meat. It's yummy, tender, delicious, satisfying meat. Farmers mix a domesticated bull with a female American bison, and once they've bred, the beefalo is born, and it's honestly able to make its own offspring. Something that doesn't always happen naturally with newly bred creatures, and that means that more beefalo are on the way. But as noted, the main highlight of the beefalo is that they're able to produce much more beef overall than regular cattle. Not to mention that they have the genes within them to make better meat. They produce leaner, more flavorful meat like bison, but are more docile and easier to raise like domestic cattle. And as you can guess, there are some who are not exactly happy about this for the right reasons, because farmers essentially made a new species of animal just to murder them, all for the purpose of making more money and having more products to sell. It's a slippery slope and not the only cattle animal to fall into that category, which is why crossbreeding is so controversial in the eyes of many in the world. Where does one draw the line?
Right.
Number 10. The Pizzly Bear. Now we'll go to the obvious. A stupid name for a bear. That's right, it's a fusion between a polar bear and a grizzly bear, but you couldn't come up
Don't look nice at all.
with a better fusion name than that? How about the Priz? That sounds so much better than what you guys are offering. Can we all vote on this? We demand the name change. And while we're collecting the votes, we'll talk about the soon-to-be name-changed bear known as the Pizzly Bear. Because here's a big twist for you. This is a bear species that happened naturally on its own, and it may have been in response to climate change. You see, polar bears are of course known for living in harsh winter climates, grizzly bears prefer forest areas, and the polar bears have been moving south while the grizzly bears have been going north. And when they mate, the new bears are actually able to handle the weather conditions much easier. It's a new type of bear that's more resilient to climate change and better suited for warmer temperatures. Now, if only humans could help stop climate change somehow. Number 9. The Geep. That's right, another dumb name. Do you realize that we don't have to just fuse two original animal names together? We could come up with something new. In Ireland, a farmer found out that a goat wanted to get with one of his sheep. He admitted that he had no idea what was happening until there was the Geep. Seriously, what a dumb name. The farmer had never seen anything like that before, and added that his family had been involved in sheep farming for generations. It goes to show that the animal kingdom's able to have some surprises for you. Just as important was that the Geep was not only healthy after being born, but could very easily see the effects of mixed genes that it had. For example, it was born at the same time as other lambs, however the Geep was much faster. As a whole, it's rare, and usually dies out young, so this is something truly special to behold. Number 8. The Kama. The Kama is a very special animal because it's a very odd fusion between a camel and a llama. But do I need to say it? No, not the name, it gets a pass, but what in the world was somebody thinking in regards to trying to fuse a camel and a llama together? Did they just wake up one day and go, oh, I know, I should go and get a llama and a camel?
That's what I'm saying. Like, all of these seem like random, just completely random, which to me implies you got way too much time on your hands. Period.
Mate, it'll be awesome. No, it's really not. I say that because the first Kama was introduced into the world in 1995, but she was the only one that survived. It took another 13 years and quote-unquote better breeding techniques for the next 3 to be born. So, as of 2008, there are only 4 of these creatures on Earth. Even the team behind the animal admitted that it was difficult to breed, and that should have been a hint that you shouldn't have done it in the first place. Number 7. The Mule. Now, I know you didn't see this one coming, because so far I've talked about fusion animals that honestly seem unnatural, and ones that are questionable in purpose, but in truth, there have been fused animals living alongside us for a very long time. One of them is indeed the mule. Because the mule's a fusion between a horse and a donkey, the results are very hardy, and an animal that can carry heavy loads despite its body size and go long distances without getting tired. But what's so interesting about this particular hybrid is that it's the oldest one that anyone knows about. It can be proven as well, as they were originally created in Turkey and were used in Egypt around 3000 BC. Even back then, animal hybrids had been a topic of desire for humans, and in this case, they absolutely got the combination correct. Donkeys...
Listen, I didn't know that. I never knew this was the oldest. I didn't know that, bro. You might think I'm crazy, something wrong with me for not knowing that, but I'm honest. I had no idea this was the case. Didn't at all.
have been used for generations, and even now with modern technology, they still have purpose. So sometimes it does seem to work out to make these hybrids. Number 6. Kai Wolf. The name is actually the name of a fusion between a wolf and a coyote. And before you rage against the machine and shout, "What idiot human had this idea?" it wasn't a human creation at all, which honestly makes it a bit more terrifying. Because you see, in certain areas of the world, coyotes and wolves are meeting up and breeding, and the Kai wolves that they make as a result of that are a bit, well, more intense than anyone would prefer. Because according to experts, they have the instincts of wolves and the desire to hunt in packs, and yet they have the fearlessness of the coyote, especially when it comes to being fearless around humans and their homes. As one would put it, we're seeing an evolution in action, and evolution is breeding an even fiercer canine than before. Number 5. The Cheeto. Now, they weren't even trying with this one, were they? Did they realize that they were just one letter away from calling the cat in question an orange-covered snack food? I hope that wasn't a goal, but the breeders, you just never know. Yes, this particular cat was one of many that were made by cat breeders, because for one reason or another, breeders love to take certain types of cats and make a very exotic-looking specimen for people to own. It's a very big market, believe it or not, and the results are at times quite striking. In the case of the Cheeto, it's a fusion of an Osicat and the Bengal cat, not the Bengal tiger. But could you just imagine? Actually, don't imagine. That's really terrifying and disgusting. If you're curious, the Cheeto was thought up by Carol Dryman. She was hoping to create a new feline that would display the physical characteristics of a wild cat and the gentleness of a domesticated house cat. It worked, and she's been making them ever since. Number 4. The Jag Lion. The Jag Lion is a fusion between the Jaguar and the Lion, but come on, man. Think of a cooler name to pay.
Why? Why would somebody create something like this, bro? Like the Jaguar and the Lion weren't scary enough, bro. You combine them to possibly make something even more vicious? Are you sickening? Are you mental?
Pay homage to these big cats. It should also be noted that
look at the way it just moved just then. The way it moved just then just said everything you needed to know. Stay away. Already you should have stayed away, but this one, lock your doors.
think of a cooler name to pay homage to these big cats. It should also be noted that the Jag Lions are yet another example of a very rare breed of animal because there are less than a handful of them in the entire world. At one point, there were only 2, and they were both in zoos. Now you may think this is another forced breeding, but apparently that wasn't the case for the originals. According to those in the zoo, the male jaguar and the female lion were raised together and were thus inseparable. Still, even with that, it's fair to say that this isn't a truly natural hybrid, and you shouldn't expect this to become a full-on species anytime soon. Number 3. Pomsky Dog. Remember when I talked about those designer snakes and then those cats that were bred to be exotic? Well, it happens with dogs as well, and the Pomsky Dog is a great example. This is a cross between the Siberian Husky and the Pomeranian. This designer dog technically isn't a new breed because it's a mixture between 2 different confirmed dog breeds. Yeah, there are rules to this thing apparently, but the reason they're getting made more and more is because people are seeing them online and are entranced by their looks, which I believe people would do.
Yeah.
The catch with the Pomsky is that what they'll look like is honestly very random. At times, they could look like huskies or wolves, and at other times, they resemble the Pomeranian side a whole lot more. It's honestly a coin toss. That also goes for how big they might get, so while they are photogenic in the eyes of many, you might want to think about it a bit before going and getting one. Number 2. Donkra.
Yeah, that last one, I can't show Queen that. Should be wanting to get one. Just for the same reason he said, oh, They're so cute. It should be all that. Yeah. Let's remove those pictures off the internet.
Sometimes you have to wonder what in the freaking heck is going on with some of these hybrids, because here's another one that happened in a zoo. A Chinese zoo, in fact, and it's something. Meet the Donkra, which is apparently the mixture of a male donkey and a female zebra. I wish that I was making this up, but I'm not, and that's the problem. I'm not really too sure what to make of this thing. First off, it does look like a hybrid, so it's got that going for it. But aside from that, do I really want this to be a true species? It's unclear if it was a natural thing based on the species involved. That would seem to be a great bet, but even if it wasn't, it's still weird. There were some complications at the animal's birth, but apparently it got better over time. This is definitely a rare creature, and I'd be shocked if it happened again. Number 1. The Wolfen. You didn't think I'd get back to the ocean, did you? Oh, ye of little faith in water. But we're ending our list with something truly odd, the Wolfen. This animal's made by crossbreeding the bottlenose dolphin and a false killer whale, which is quite a pair, and at first would seem kind of random, right? However, there are some methods behind this clear madness. You see, they both live in tropical waters, and their species are known to congregate together in certain ways. And apparently, that's enough for them to be able to mate. What a world we live in! And that's where things get really odd. Not that they weren't odd before, mind you, because there are some who have said that they've seen the Wolfens in the wild. Which would be interesting because they're very rare, as you can imagine. However, there's no proof of this, and currently the only confirmed Wolfens in the world are at zoos. Still though, feel free to keep your eyes open for this unique species. What did you think of this look at all the hybrids of the world that were
I think everybody needs to see this so they can be prepared and know, recognize, stay away from whatever you got to do to keep yourself safe, man. And I think this just is a mere glimpse into what's to come in the future, bro. Because you know it don't stop there. Once you can do that to one thing, then you move on and say, oh, what if I try this? It's just like cooking in the kitchen. You experiment. You're coming up with different, yeah. I'm telling y'all, man. Jurassic Park was the premiere of what was to come in the future, bro. And I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of this video. 20 hybrid animals created by scientists you won't believe exist. Let me know what you think. And stick around and stay tuned. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.